2022-2023 NBA season is right around the corner. Can we predict the NBA winners? Hello, I'm Fletcher Armbrust, and welcome to NBA Take. On today's show, we'll talk about some win total over-unders. Then we'll talk about surprising and disappointing players and teams. We'll also discuss the New Orleans Pelicans and our projections for their season. And finally, we'll discuss the top 10 small forwards in the NBA. All this and more on this edition of NBA Take.
Hey, Grant, what you doing at the bus depot?
I gotta go someplace where I can get everything I love. Internet with 1 gig speeds, a home security system, a whole home DVR with thousands of shows on demand.
Wait, all those things that you love, I know people right here who can get you all of it.
Internet, TV, security, and phone. Get it all with Compori, your friendly neighborhood tech giant.
Let's go! Oh, yeah! Reach for the sky! We go! Yeah! Yeah!
As you set your financial game plan, we'll be with you every play. Relax. You're with Founders.
Hey, I'm Carter Osterhaus from HGTV, here with some tips on heating your home comfortably and responsibly, starting with your heating system. Even on the coldest days, nothing keeps your home warm and cozy like a high-efficiency, Energy Star qualified natural gas furnace. You can actually feel how warm the air is, and that's because a gas furnace delivers air that's up to 25 degrees warmer than the air from a heat pump, and you'll have warmer air inside and cleaner air outside.
Every offseason, fans love to predict who the award winners will be in the upcoming season. With the NBA season right around the corner, how accurately can we predict the winners? Here with me today is NBA fan TJ Armbrust. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, who do you think will be your MVP or the top three or whatever?
I mean, there's a lot of good players in the NBA right now. I think a lot of people are thinking this, and I kind of agree with them. I think the front runner to begin the season, you know, with no games being played or anything, is Luka. I think Luka is, I think he's almost like what everybody wants to happen, who they want to win. I have as I have four players listed as most valuable player that I think it'll be one of these four players that will win it. I have Luka. I have Joel Embiid, I have the Greek Freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I have the Joker, Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I have two of the same people, because Jokic won it last year, but I do think he will win it this year.
You don't think he will win it?
I do think he'll be in the top three this year.
Okay.
I think Joel Embiid will be up there, and I have a sleeper pick, a little bit of a dark horse, Zion Williamson.
Okay.
So I think...
Who do you think will win it, though?
Who do I think will win it? Well, I think my MVP might be Jokic, but I think Embiid might win it.
Okay. I do think Joker won't put up the numbers that he has because with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. back.
No one's won MVP 3 times in a row, and people aren't going to want to give it to a guy like Jokic.
But if the Nuggets are the #1 team in the West and he puts up similar numbers, and maybe even up some like the assists because he's got more people to pass to this year than he did last year, he might be the first to do it. Anyway.
I don't know.
I mean,
but it's really difficult to predict stuff like this.
Sure.
What about Rookie of the Year? Because Scotty Barnes won it last year.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you think will win it this year?
What was Scotty Barnes? Where was he in the draft last year?
I think he was third.
Third pick, something
no,
like that.
oh,
He
no.
wasn't the top one of
Third
the top.
or fourth.
He wasn't one of the top 2 picks. So, I mean, I think the front runner by far is Paolo Banchero, especially with Chet Holmgren being injured.
Maybe he was the second pick. I can't remember.
Yeah, but I think Paolo is the front runner. I think someone like Keegan Murray, who's he's not one of the top 2 or 3 picks, but I think he's a dark horse that could win it.
I don't think he's a dark horse. A lot of people have him as their Rookie of the Year
Do
winner.
they? Okay.
Yeah, so for what I did for these is I had 2 realistic and 1 kind of like a sleeper pick.
Okay.
So I think Paolo Banchero and
Mm-hmm.
Jaden Ivey with the Pistons. I just think him alongside Cade Cunningham will be pretty good, and that could
Okay.
really help him out. And I have Ochai Agbaji on the Jazz. I feel like he's going to have a lot of opportunities.
Say his name again.
Ochai Agbaji.
It's pretty good. I don't know who that is. I mean, I know who it is, but I didn't want to put him because I didn't think I could say his name.
Yeah. I do think he will have opportunity on the Jazz, depending on Colin Sexton. If
I just think the Jazz are going to be so bad that sometimes it's hard for a rookie to get any sort. Like, I feel like rookies a lot of times are on a team that does a little bit better than like the worst
we
teams.
saw with
Scotty
Scotty
Barnes. Yeah.
and what's his name, Evan Mobley.
Yeah.
But Cade Cunningham wasn't, and he was.
Yeah. It's true.
So Defensive Player of the Year,
Yeah.
Marcus Smart won it last year. First guard to win it, point guard since Gary Payton in 1996.
Wow. Yeah.
Do
He
you
had a
think
good year.
You think a guard will win it this year?
No.
Because I don't.
I don't either.
So
Who you tell me who you got
okay.
first?
So Rudy Gobert and Bam Adebayo
Okay.
are my 2 main picks, and then a sleeper pick, Herb Jones from the Pelicans.
You love your Pelicans. But who do you think's going to win it?
I
Don't
think-
give me the 2. Give me who you think's going to win it.
I think Bam Adebayo might.
Okay.
I don't know. Rudy Gobert might be kind of the same thing with Jokic. They don't want to give him his 4th, maybe.
Yeah.
But but they might. You never know, because several people.
It's so different than the MVP.
It is.
The defensive player. I have 3 players, 2 listed, but I don't have Rudy Gobert because I don't like
him?
Rudy Gobert. But I do think that at some point they're like, all right, he's won enough. Let's see what else people could do. And I think Draymond Green could be up there, but I don't have him on my list.
Yeah, we're not sure
I have
how
I
it's
have the
gonna-
Greek Freak because, I mean, he's won it once or twice? Once, but he's always one of the best defensive players. But he wins the MVP and other things so often that I don't think he gets quite his true marksmanship for defense that he should. I have Bam on this list. I think Bam is really good and could win it this year. And I also have Robert Williams from the Celtics. It's going to depend on how many games, how hurt he is,
I don't
and how
think
much
he will.
how long he is. But he gets a lot of attention for his defense, especially on the Celtics, which are the best defensive team, and he's the best defensive player on that team.
Are you sure?
In
They
my
have
opinion.
Marcus Smart?
In my opinion.
Okay.
And Marcus Smart won it last year. I think had Robert Williams, if more people knew about him, that he could have easily won it for them last year. So, I think Bam is the winner this year.
Yeah, I agree. Most improved player. John Morant won it last year. I'm not a huge fan of what they've done with it. I don't think it should be someone who takes a jump that they're supposed to, like 20 to 27 points. I think it should be someone who comes from nothing to something. So I did pick 2 who I think might win. I have Cade Cunningham and R.J. Barrett. And I picked Colin Sexton, but I'm not quite sure. I just feel like he put up 25 points on the Cavaliers one year. And if I think he can, do that, maybe put up even 28, depending on how the Jazz want to tank or anything.
Yeah.
But I do think he's my sleeper pick.
I don't have any of those guys on this pick. I have Anthony Simons. I think he could win it, depending on how Portland.
I kind of disagree with Dame, but
But depending on how Portland does, I think he'll be, the number 2 guy on that team, scoring-wise, right? After Dame, and I think
they also have Jeremy Grant.
That could see him take a big jump. And I also have Tyrese Halliburton, who I think I think he potentially is an all-star this year.
Really?
I think he has that potential. I think
I
he's
don't know.
that good all around. His game is really good. He's really smooth. He doesn't get a whole lot of attention, but it's not because he's not good. It's kind of where he's been and where he's played. But I think he's a guy I'm really, really high on this year, and I think he could make a big jump and be the most improved.
All right. So, Sixth Man of the Year. Tyler Hero won it last year, playing starter-type minutes. So, Christian Wood, I'm pretty sure he's coming off the bench for the Mavericks. I think Luka could really help him make a case. And I have Bones Highland from the Nuggets. But then I also have Brendan Clark. Not quite sure if he will win it just because Jaren Jackson Jr. is injured. So, not quite sure if he'll, come off the bench for enough games. But
I put Hero just because he is who he is. I also have Bones Highland, so I think he's low-key one of the people that could really win it. Bones is big, so
yeah.
we got a couple more to get through here quickly.
All right.
So
Coach of the Year, I have Willie Green, Tyronn Lue, J.B. Bickerstaff.
okay, I have Mike Malone, Doc Rivers, and Tyronn Lue. So we both have Tyrone, so maybe we think he's going to win it.
All right, an NBA champion, my top three are the Bucks, the 76ers, and the Nuggets.
Okay, I like those picks. I have 4 here, but I have the Bucks,
Yep.
I have the Nuggets,
Agreed.
I have the Clippers, and
I
Golden
disagree.
State.
I don't think the Clippers will be what people think they will.
I
don't know why,
think the
but
Clippers have potential to be really, really good this year. It will be a question of all of their wing players can mold together and get enough time to keep everybody happy.
yeah. All right, that's all we have time for this segment. Over-unders are a hot spot here before the NBA season starts. Can we predict the over-unders for wins when we return? The Central Division in the NBA acquired quite a bit of talent this offseason. They seem to be on the rise for the best division in the NBA. Can we predict their over-unders for wins? Still with us is NBA fan TJ Armbrust. Thank you for being here.
Yep.
So, do you think the Cleveland Cavaliers will win over or under 48 games?
I have them under, not by a lot.
Under?
But I have them under. I know they've improved. They have Donovan Mitchell, and everybody thinks that makes them like a contender right away. I have them at 45 wins, 3 games under that. What they've picked.
45?
Yeah, which I think that puts them in the range maybe of the top 6 teams in the East.
Yeah,
But I don't think they win over 48.
I think I have them at 50. They won 44 games last year without Donovan Mitchell and some injury struggles. So I think if they stay healthy and have Donovan Mitchell, I think they can win 50 games. I think 45, I don't know. I think that's way too. I think they'll definitely win more than 1 game unless one of their major players goes down.
But I think it's a lot harder, when you get new players, it's a lot harder to just all of a sudden be a much better team. It's going to take some time, I think, for them to gel and figure each other out, which they had already done as a team because those young guys were together for a couple years. But then you throw somebody like Donovan Mitchell, who's like an alpha, and it changes the complexion of things sometimes. So I think that I think 45 is a good number.
I think they're built for a regular season team, so
Okay.
I think 45 is not a good number. Will the Chicago Bulls win over under 42 games?
I took a big leap here. I said under,
I
and
did
by
too.
a lot.
Quite a bit for me.
I said 32, 10 games under what they picked, 32 wins.
I had 37. I think they're going to be really disappointing
I
this
do too.
season. I don't know. I think I might have them as very low 9 or 10 seed, maybe even missing the play-in. They won 46 games last year, but I don't see it. I don't see it working very well.
Yeah, they didn't do much this offseason. I don't think they got any better, and I think they may
They got
have
Drummond.
Huh?
They got Drummond.
I don't think they got any better. And I see him having a big. Well, I think a lot of teams in the East got better. I don't think they did, and I think that really hurts them, and that's why I have them way under the 42 pick.
Yeah, I picked them at 37 for kind of the same reason. I do think having DeRozan and LaVine just puts you like at least over 32 wins.
I do think
But-
that last year people underestimated DeRozan,
Yeah.
and he made him pay for that. I don't see them doing that this year, which is why I picked him so far under.
Yeah, and we can
they're gonna make somebody else besides DeRozan beat them, and I'm not sure that they have a team that has the type of players that can do that.
And we also kind of expect DeRozan to have a bit of regression. He's
Yeah.
kind of old. Last year was very surprising for everyone. So the Detroit Pistons over under 30 games. I think this is kind of easy.
I have them over.
I did too.
I'm not as high on the Pistons as you are, but it's slightly over. I have them at 32. I have them the same as the Bulls.
I have them at about 500. I have them
Okay.
at 41 wins. They won 20.
That's a lot of games over the 30.
They won 23 games last year. They were 23 and 59. But I do think they are much better, and I think everyone will take a leap. I do think they're
17 games better than last year. When you
Yeah.
say it like that,
Yeah.
that's a lot of games.
I do think so.
Okay. I mean, I think the Pistons will be better. I still don't think they're very good yet. And I think 32 is where I have them, just a couple games over that.
Yeah, I think Cade Cunningham will take a big leap alongside Jaden Ivey, who I have top 3 rookie. I think they have really, I don't know, they have quite a bit of young, okay, pretty decent players. But they also have Bojan, which I don't think he adds that many wins. But maybe just having him as a veteran
Yeah.
could really benefit them in a way a lot of young teams don't quite have.
Yeah.
So the Indiana Pacers, 24 games, over under. I think this is really easy.
I have them over.
I did too.
I like the Pacers kind of like you like the Pistons because I like Tyrese Halliburton. I think he's going to make a big jump this year, and as he goes, the Pacers will go. And I don't have them like crazy, but I put 28, but I'm going to raise it up to 30. I think
I
they
have
win
more than that.
I think they win 30 games at least.
Yeah, so they won 25 games last
Okay.
year. So I have them at 34.
Yeah.
It's 10 over the expected win. I just think, unless there's some type of trade, because Miles Turner's been shopped around.
Yeah.
But Tyrese Halliburton, and I just think
I
they're
think
just good enough to win the games they should win.
I think Miles Turner will be happier once he realizes and once he plays with Halliburton for a little bit.
Because he
Like,
hasn't really had a point guard
this
like
guy
him.
will really make me better and make
Yeah.
our team better, and I think that will really benefit
And
them.
in turn, if Miles Turner gets traded, say in the offseason after a really good year, that could really benefit,
Yeah. Yep.
So
I still can't believe that Sacramento got rid of Halliburton. I think they're gonna hear from that for a long time because he's gonna be really good.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not as mad at it as you are. I think just Sabonis. I don't think Halliburton and Fox would work that well together. I think they're kind of too similar to work well together.
Yeah.
But we did say the same thing about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and
True.
look where that got them. So
That's true.
The Milwaukee Bucks. This is an interesting one. 53 games.
Yeah. I have them over, but not by a lot.
I have them
picked them
over.
at 55 games, which I think is
That's exactly what I have. Too.
really.
Yeah.
I think that's easy for them. they don't really care about the regular season, but I
Right.
don't think they need to care about the regular season to still win 55 games.
Yeah, they won 51 last year, and that was with some injuries.
Yeah, they struggled
So
with injuries.
I do think Giannis, Middleton, and Holiday alone, when healthy, gets you at least 55 wins,
Yeah.
53 wins. So I do think they'll win over.
And they're made to be a decent team. I mean, they really are.
They won a championship.
I mean, 2 years ago.
The last time
but-
they were healthy, they won a
but
championship.
they got decent depth too. Like I like them. I think they're good.
Yeah, I agree. I
So
think
who wins the division?
who wins the division? Based on just this, I have the Bucks winning the division.
Yeah, me too. And then the Cavs. And then for the next 3 teams, it's really a toss-up. It could be any
So I
of those
have
3 teams.
Bucks, Cavs, Pistons, Bulls, and Pacers. That's based on how many win totals.
I have Bucks, Cavs, then the Pistons and the Bulls tied, and the Pacers right behind them. So I really think it could be any of those
We're
guys.
right there.
Yeah,
So you think Giannis, he'll have an MVP-like season?
I do. I think
So-
he always will have, as long as he stays healthy.
'Cause I
He's
think
going to
he-
kind of be like a LeBron type. As long as he's healthy, he's always going to have MVP type numbers.
I agree. And I think Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday are the perfect people to have around Giannis. And we saw last year without Chris Middleton, they went to a Game 7. So they were really, really good. And I think they kind of want to show people that they can do it again. So you think, how far do you think they'll make it in the playoffs? Do you think?
I think they go in the East. I think
Do
they're
you think
the
they
East.
win the East?
Yeah, I do.
I disagree. I think it will be the Sixers, but I think the Bucks will definitely just always be in contention as long as Giannis is healthy and one of the others is healthy.
I agree. I agree with that.
So,
I wouldn't have a problem.
yeah. All right, that's all we have time for this segment. Each NBA season, there are disappointing and surprising teams and players. Can we predict them when we return?
They stole a life.
Stop. Stop.
Stop the violence.
They stole a father.
Stop.
Stop.
Stop the violence.
They stole a friend. Stop.
Stop.
Stop the violence.
They stole potential.
They stole a spirit, a dream.
Son.
They stole family. They stole a piece of my heart.
Stop.
Stop.
Stop the violence.
It's not the answer.
It's not the answer.
Surprising and disappointing players and teams pop up every year. How accurately can we predict them? Again, with us is NBA fan TJ Armbrust. Thank you for being here. So, who are your top 3 most surprising players this season?
Surprising players?
Yes.
All right, I have 3 here.
I have
and I've talked about one already a couple times. Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah.
I've told you, I think this is his breakout year. I think he's going to be really, really good. I think he's a great all-around player. I think he's going to be he's going to have the freedom to score in Indiana, which he hasn't necessarily had before. And he's a playmaker. I think he's big time. I have Franz Wagner. Wagner from Orlando. As long as he's been a good shooter. As long as he can continue to hit the 3, I think in Orlando, like he's a player that maybe people haven't heard a whole lot about, but Orlando could be a decent sleeper team this year.
I think he's their best player.
And I think he is. I think you're right. He's probably their best player with a team that has Banchero, who's pretty good. I think it makes Wagner even better to have Banchero on that team because it'll free up him a little bit. And the third player I have is Josh Giddey from Oklahoma. I think, the last 20 games of last year, he averaged 15.5 points, 8.6 rebounds, and 6.8 assists. And I think they got a little bit better, and they didn't have Shea for a lot of that period. I think he gets even better with the combo of him and Shea in the backcourt, which I think Oklahoma, with their million picks that they still have, are going to be a little bit better than what people think.
Well, I don't think Oklahoma's going to be better, just strictly because of Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson.
And what?
Scoot Henderson.
Oh, you think they're going to tank because of those two?
Because
I don't think so. But
Wembanyama is considered the greatest draft prospect since LeBron.
But you got to think, though, with Oklahoma, they have enough draft picks that even if they don't get one of the top picks, they have enough artillery that they can trade up and maybe even land one of those players with all those picks, you know.
So for my top three, I have R.J. Barrett with the Knicks. I do think he's going to surprise people and be the best player on the Knicks. So I do think he will. I think I don't
disagree. The Knicks I'm not high on the Knicks this year, but go ahead.
Trey Jones.
Okay.
He's going to most likely be their starting point guard. I think he could
When you say there,
the Spurs.
The Spurs.
I think he could kind of be sort of like a DeJounte Murray type.
Okay.
I think he'll take a really big jump, and I do think he's going to surprise the people. So I don't. For my third one, I think I'm going to go with Brandon Clark from the Grizzlies. I think he could really surprise some people, getting the start for a little bit with Jaren Jackson Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think Brandon Clark will have a really solid season.
Okay.
So, what are your top three most surprising teams?
I have three here. I have Oklahoma City, who I think is going to be better than what people think. Even without Chet Holmgren, I still think they have a good makeup of team. I think that Giddey and Shea are pretty good together if they can get a couple other people to hit some shots.
Yeah.
I think I don't think they're going to be great. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they're better than what they have been and what people give them credit for.
Yeah.
The Indiana Pacers, because I think they're going to be a lot better than what people think. I think Miles Turner and Halliburton is a good combo for that team, and they get a lot better. But my number one most surprising team is I'm going to have to go with my Denver Nuggets, just because, they were the 6th seed last year, not being healthy. I know Jokic was the MVP, but I think people will be surprised at how good their offense is, getting Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. back, and big time getting KCP to play shooting guard, to play defense for him, and Bruce Brown. I think that just makes them so much better that they're going to kind of take some people by storm that aren't really paying attention.
So I disagree with the Nuggets, strictly because I think people expect them to be good. So I don't think they're surprising people. I do think they'll be as good as you say.
I think people that know basketball expect them to be good, but I think the average fan doesn't really know who they are.
So there were 4 teams I really had for top 3 most surprising teams.
You can't have 4. You can only have 3.
I know. So I have the Pelicans.
Okay.
I think they're going to surprise some people without injuries.
Yeah.
I think they will be. I know we're going to talk about them later, so I don't want to get too much into them. But a 3 to 5 seed.
Okay.
I have the Pistons. I think they're gonna do really well with Cade Cunningham. I have them at about 500.
Okay.
And this is the toss-up. I have the Magic.
Okay. I
think the Magic are gonna be really good. I think they're gonna be better than the Pistons, maybe by a couple games.
I almost picked them. I think you're right.
I know this is extremely high on them, but I have them at like a 9 or 8 seed.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm really high on them, which I know isn't a popular pick, but I don't really care. So who are your top 3 most disappointing teams for this season?
Most disappointing teams? I'm going to pick one that I picked last year too, I think, that I thought would take a big drop and weren't as good as because they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and that was Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta's, I don't think they are going to be great. I think people expect them to be great, and I don't think that they're there. I think they're a playoff team, but I think they're a lower tier playoff team. I have the Knicks, because the Knicks do nothing but disappoint. I mean, every year, like, their fan base gets this huge, like, we're going to be so much better. I know they might not have it this year, but I don't think they're very good. I don't think their makeup of their team has been great, and I don't see them. I see them as disappointing their fan base and everybody else once again, because they're put on TV a lot because they're the Knicks.
So
and my third team
for the Knicks,
what?
They were the toss-up for my top 3 most surprising teams. So they were a toss-up between the Magic. So
yeah, well, I'm disappointed in them. And my third team is somebody that they love this team, and I think they peaked too early. I think they're going to be good. I think that they're not as good as what people think they are, and that's Memphis. I think Memphis is going to be good. I still think they're a year or two away from being that, and I think people are going to be really disappointed because they're not going to be quite what they were last year. You know, what were they, the 2nd seed last year? I think they're more like a 5-6 seed this year, and I think that puts them in that disappointing range.
So I have the Bulls.
Okay.
I think they're going to be really disappointing. I have them at 9, 10, maybe even 11 seed. They won 46 games, but I think they'll win way less than that.
That's a good pick.
I have the Suns. I'm not quite sure what people's expectations are around them, but they won 64 games, and I just think they're going to be disappointing.
I think that
Chris
internal
Paul,
combustion is going to it's going to explode at some point.
I think Chris Paul was going to have a big regression. I think they'll fire Monty Williams after this year, maybe.
Wow.
I think they'll fire him soon.
Just because of the internal locker room strife?
Like that, and I think I don't know. I mean, losing, they won 64 games, so I'm not quite sure how far they'll drop off.
You know, something that's interesting about Chris Paul is he goes to a place and he makes them better initially. And I think we've seen this at a couple different times, but then over time, I don't know what it is about, but the locker room seemed to deteriorate. That's happened a couple different times, a couple different places he's been.
Yeah. So, and I also have the Timberwolves.
Okay.
I think people have them really high in the regular season, but I disagree. So
that's a good pick too.
My top 3 most disappointing players, I have Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, and Klay Thompson.
Wow.
So.
Mine are John Collins in Atlanta. Chris Middleton. I think Milwaukee's still going to be good, but I don't think he's going to be quite the player he was before. I think Holiday's going to overtake him as their second best player and stay there. And my third one is also a Timberwolf, but I have Karl Anthony Towns. I think I just think he's going to have a little bit of a down year with just the makeup of that team isn't quite the same, you know.
All right, that's all we have time for this segment. The New Orleans Pelicans have very high expectations coming into this season. With Zion Williamson returning, many think the Pelicans are poised for a playoff run. Our take when we return.
Oh, he's back. Hey, bro, you good, bro? Oh, bro, get up, bro. Hey, Phil. Get up, bro. Phil. Bro, I thought it was painkillers. I got painkillers, bro. They opioids. Bro, it's on you, bro.
The New Orleans Pelicans finished as a 9 seed in the regular season. They won their way to the 8th seed. They gave the 1-seeded Phoenix Suns a run for their money. Zion is back and hopes are high. Still with us is NBA fan TJ Armbrust. Thank you for being here. So, where do you project the Pelicans to finish this upcoming season?
Now, I think the Pelicans are good. I'm not quite as high on them as you are, obviously. I think they're a 6 seed. I think that's high for them, but I think that's where they reach. If they stay healthy, I think if they can get to a 6 seed this year, that's a pretty good jump for them. That's a pretty big boost for their team, even with Zion. And we'll talk about it because you know this. I have some issues with the makeup of their team, but I think 6 is good, and I think they should be. If they get to 6, I think they should be really happy with that.
So I have them at 3 through 5, if they're all fully healthy. Because Zion rolled his ankle, but he should be fine. CJ's had a bit of injury, and Ingram hasn't played at all in preseason. But I think they should be fine, but I think a 3 through 5 seed, I think they can really get off to a good start and get into a rhythm.
I think it's going to take them some time. That's why I have them at 6. I think it's going to take them a little bit of time to get used to playing with Zion again. I think they played really, really well last year without him. I think they surprised a lot of people. They got a good makeup of a team. I'm not sure, which I've told you this, I'm not sure about how he fits next to Brandon Ingram with the two of them on the court together, because I think Ingram flourished last year because Zion wasn't there and he could be the primary scorer along with CJ. And I don't think you're going to see that same version of Brandon Ingram with Zion next to him. I just think that there's not enough basketballs to go around for all of them to be happy. So I'm not saying it won't work. I'm telling you, I think I'm worried about that makeup of them.
So as you know, I absolutely disagree with that. I understand why you think that, but I also think that CJ, he's going to be their point guard. He's going to realize he might not need to score quite as much. He averaged 26, 27 points when he was there. I don't think he'll need to do that. I just don't. And I think Zion doesn't need quite as many shots as Ingram and CJ. And I think Zion will also have plenty of space with Valanciunas because he played with Steven Adams and Derek Favors as a center, so there was not space. And Herb Jones has developed quite a shot. And also when Trey Murphy's on the floor, he can really shoot the ball. He's done really good this preseason. It is preseason, but I do think they'll be fine. So how good do you think Zion will be this year?
I mean, I just wrote down numbers. I wrote 27 and 8. That's where I think. That's about where he was before, right? I think that if he can get back to that point, I think that's pretty good. I know he's in better shape than he was and all those other things, but I mean, I think which is going to be a worry with him for forever is that his size with his body mass in his body, that, you know, rolling your ankles and those types of things, some knee stuff are almost expected because you're carrying so much weight. And you know, he's not overweight by any means, but he's big dude for his size, you know.
Yeah, so I said if they finish 3 through 5 seed and he's healthy, All NBA third team. Okay. I think he potentially could have easily got it in 2 years ago when he was healthy and averaged 27, but didn't quite get it. But if they're a 1 or a 2 seed, which I think won't happen, Zion will win MVP or be All-NBA first team. So, I mean, I think he can do that. He's going to be an all-star unless he's snubbed. Do you think he'll be an all-star this year? With it?
Probably. I mean, it depends on if he comes back and looks like Zion Williamson. Then yes, I think he's an all-star. All
right. So who will be their best player? Zion, Bi, CJ. I think Zion will be. He might not be their leader, but I think he will be their leader stats-wise. I think he will definitely be their best player.
I mean, I don't think that's much of an argument. I think Zion is their best player. He should be their best player. If he's not their best player, they're in trouble and they're not going to make the playoffs.
Really? Because they made the playoffs without him. So just him, even subpar, I think does put them in the playoffs.
What I'm saying is, with him, if he's going to be on the court with that team and he's not their best player, they're not as good as they were last year without them, with everybody else playing at that high level. I think it's a totally, if he plays and he's not his best, it's a totally different makeup of that team. They're nothing like they were last year with him playing subpar as their power forward. So yeah, if he plays this year and isn't their best player, then I don't think they're a playoff team.
Okay. I mean, I think he might not necessarily. I hear what you're saying. I think he will be their best player. He might not be their most valuable player.
I think CJ
could potentially be
their
that, and
most
maybe even
valuable.
Ingram, because CJ has leadership. Isn't he president of like the Players Association?
Yeah. I think CJ is severely underrated in his leadership skills and what he does for a team. I think that he's one of the main reasons that Portland was so good for so long and just taking care of egos and stuff on that team. I think CJ's really good. And he came to the Pelicans, and after he came, they were a different team. I mean, they were a playoff team. They were really good. He got the best out of it.
He played 600 basketball with CJ.
He made Brandon Ingram the best version of himself, and the rest of that team also. It's what happened. So, I mean, he's maybe the most important player on that team, but I don't know that he's the best player.
So, how good do you think Herb Jones will be if he develops some offense? I think obviously not an all-star level, but I think he could be a top 5 defensive specialist. By defensive specialist, I mean he's like really only on defense. Like offense, if he develops a 3 and can score when he has the ball, I think then this team is really, really good.
Yeah, I think, you want my hot take? I even wrote my hot take on this. Is I think if Herb Jones can develop a really good shot and a little bit of scoring, that if the Zion and Brandon Ingram doesn't necessarily, if they don't gel, I mean, because a couple of years ago they didn't gel super well together. Brandon Ingram was nowhere near the player he was last year, 2 years ago when Zion was there. That's my worry about the two of them. But if Herb Jones makes a big jump like you think he might, I think that maybe makes Brandon Ingram a little bit expendable, and I wouldn't be surprised that they maybe try to shop him for a piece that really might help them somewhere else, like a big-time shooter or that type of, I wouldn't be surprised if Herb Jones makes a big jump like you think he might. I think Brandon Ingram maybe doesn't have a super long future there.
So I disagree with you because Brandon Ingram was the first player to really stay with the Pelicans, to stick with the Pelicans. We saw Anthony Davis, he got out quickly. Boogie got out quickly. Chris Paul wasn't there for very long. Brandon Ingram signed an extension, and you can really tell that I think everyone's happy with each other. Like Zion signed the 5-year deal, but he didn't have a player option. So, I think that's pretty surprising. So, I don't think Herb Jones being good on offense makes Ingram expendable, but
I disagree. I do.
Yeah, I disagree with you. So, do you think the starting lineup of C.J. McCollum, Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and Jonas Valanciunas, do you think that's one of the best starting lineups in the NBA? I think talent-wise, maybe top 5. I do think they could be a top 5 starting lineup team.
I mean, that's so hard to say right now.
But not necessarily a top 5 team in the NBA, but a starting lineup of that, I think that could be one of the top 5 most talented starting lineups.
Again, I think it's really good. I think they're going to be a good team this year. Just the whole front court. I don't know how until I see them together and how they play together. I don't see how. I could see big problems with the Ingram, Williamson, Valanciunas front court.
Wait, what's the issue?
Just the whole shooting, number one. I know Valanciunas can create some space and shoot.
He's one of the best shooting centers in the NBA.
Out there, but I worry about it. I do. I'm not I'm not sold on it. And they could surprise me and they come out and it could be fine. I see maybe issues.
All right, that's all I have time for this segment. During the NBA offseason, many fans love to rank players by positions. We are no different. We will discuss Hoops Hype top 10 small forwards when we return. Hoops Hype starts off with a controversial pick at 1, Jason Tatum. Kevin Durant is 2nd, Kawhi Leonard is 3rd. LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, and Paul George follow as 4th, 5th, and 6th. Brandon Ingram and DeMar DeRozan are at 7th and 8th. Chris Middleton is 9th, and Mikal Bridges is 10th. Still with us is NBA fan T. Jarmus. Thank you for being here. So, what do you think of that list?
I mean, it's interesting.
I agree, it is interesting.
I don't agree with that list necessarily the way it is. I think that I think Jason Tatum is a rising star in the NBA. He's not been consistent enough for my liking. I mean,
you mean just because he hasn't played enough years, or hasn't been good enough?
I think that some days he's like otherworldly the way he can score and what he can do, and some days he just doesn't have that.
Are you referring to the playoffs?
I'm in the regular season at times.
Because he did have a fracture in his hand during the playoffs.
I haven't seen the consistency in him that you see from some of the top players, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard. Those guys, no matter what happens, even if they're having an off shooting night, that they make huge impacts in other ways and still find ways to score. And I've not seen that with Jason Tatum quite as much yet.
So I think it's an okay list. So I excluded Kevin Durant from my personal list because I have him on my power forwards. Okay. And I excluded Kawhi Leonard. I know you don't like this, but because of injury. So at number 1, I have LeBron James. Number 2, I have Jason Tatum. Number 3, Paul George. Number 4, Jimmy Butler. Number 5, Brandon Ingram. Number 6, DeMar DeRozan. 7, Chris Middleton. 8, Andrew Wiggins. 9, Mikal Bridges. And 10, Franz Wagner. My honorable mention is OG Anunoby. Do you think that's okay, my list, or do you think that's...
I mean, I think that's fine. I think Kevin Durant is a small forward. I think that's what he plays. I know you have him on your power forward list, but I have him on my small forward list.
So if I were to add Kawhi Leonard into my list...
No, I'm talking about Kevin Durant.
I know, but I'm just saying, because of the injury, I would have him at right there, either above Tatum or right below Tatum. Okay. I think I'm kind of giving him a prove it if he's at 3, just because he's been injured, he's missed all season. But if I put him at 2, I don't know, I feel like it's a little disrespectful to put him at 3. But I can understand either way.
Well, my list is, until he proves otherwise, LeBron James is the best small forward in the league. And I'm not a LeBron James fan, per se, but I don't negate his greatness. Like, he is great. He is a great basketball player.
Number 2 best player of all time?
Maybe. I think he is a part of that discussion, and he makes his name even better every year. Like, he doesn't get in trouble. He just goes out and he plays. He's a good family guy. Like, as much as I try to hate LeBron James, there's not a whole lot that you can hate about him.
And also, he could potentially easily pass Kareem in points this season.
Yeah, let me get to my list. So I have LeBron James number 1. I have Kevin Durant as a small forward at number 2. I have Kawhi Leonard number 3. I don't care what happened last year. We're talking about this upcoming season. I think he's the 3rd small forward on the list by far. I don't even think it's close. And then there's a gap. They're in a tier by themselves. And then I have Jason Tatum.
Okay, good.
Number 4, and Paul George, and Jimmy Butler, and DeMar DeRozan. They're that next tier for me.
You don't think Brandon Ingram's up there?
Not yet. No, I don't. I think he has a little bit of a. I think he moves down a little bit with Zion back. I don't see him scoring at the same level that he did last year. But then after DeMar, I have Brandon Ingram there. He's next.
So
that's number 8.
Number 8.
Franz Wagner, I have at number 9. I think he's playing
above
small forward.
Chris Middleton,
and then
Wiggins.
I have Scotty Barnes, number 10. And then my honorable mention, because I think Chris Middleton is going to have a decline this year. Then I have my honorable mention are Middleton, Bridges, and Wiggins. I think Wiggins got way too much hype last year. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's the top 10 small forward in the league.
It went up and down all over the place. I think he is a top 10 small forward. I think he is.
Who, Wiggins?
I think he is the 2nd best player on the Warriors.
Yo, you're crazy.
Okay, that's fine. I do think he is.
No way.
No way? No way?
No way.
Who is it, Draymond?
It's Draymond Green is the 2nd best player, and Klay Thompson is the 3rd best player, and then maybe Wiggins.
Are you serious?
100%.
Klay Thompson is not. He might be the 5th best player
No
on
way.
that team.
Klay Thompson
Jordan
has
Poole
proven
is
it in his career. He is
He's proven that he is washed.
He's an excellent defender, and he's a great shooter, and he came back halfway through the season and never had a full season, off season to get himself healthy. You watch. He will look no different than he did before.
Well, I also have Klay Thompson as one of the most disappointing players. I think not having Andrew Wiggins is criminal.
I think Andrew Wiggins isn't even, I think he's not a consideration had Klay Thompson played last year. Andrew Wiggins,
he did play last year.
For the whole season, that people wouldn't even know who Andrew Wiggins is. Like, he wouldn't even be a part of anybody's conversation in small forward because, he's not proven it, and he couldn't do it in Minnesota. He goes on a really good team, so people get to see that team a lot, and Steph makes players look good. He does, and he made Wiggins look good. And Wiggins, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he's not a top 10 small forward in the league.
So I hear what you're saying about Draymond. I do think Draymond is the 2nd most valuable player, but I do think Wiggins is a better basketball player.
Nope.
I think Draymond is okay. Well, that's fine. I think Draymond is more valuable to the Warriors with his passing, and his leadership is a little bit questionable now, but. I do think Andrew Wiggins.
If you ask fans or ask people, you talk about Golden State, what are they going to say?
They're going to say casual fans or diehard NBA fans?
I think it's going to be both. You talk about casual fans and the national pundits that talk about it. They're going to talk about Steph.
I think
they're going to talk about Klay. They're going to talk about Draymond.
They've done it 4 times.
They're going to talk about Jordan Poole. They might even talk about Wiseman, but they're not even going to.
Before Wiggins?
Yes, and they're not even going to mention
gosh.
Wiggins.
No,
I'm telling you,
this
is.
That is
When people think about Golden State, there's nobody going, what's really good about Golden State? Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, he's underrated.
No.
Yes, he is.
He's right where he should be. He's number 13. That's pretty good. If you're a top 13 small forward in the league, I'd be pretty happy. No. I personally, I put him on the list, but I wouldn't be afraid to put like Michael Porter Jr. If he's healthy, I wouldn't be afraid to put him on there. He's gonna
above Wiggins.
He'll average 5 to 6 more points a game than Wiggins. He'll have more rebounds than Wiggins. He may not have the defensive presence that Wiggins had, but people don't care about defense. They want to see points. So Michael Porter Jr. could be just as much an argument as Wiggins.
I don't think Michael Porter Jr. will put up how many points? How many points you say he's going to average?
20.
20? It's kind of same thing with the Pelicans. Too many mouths to feed because you got to feed Jamal Murray.
It's never been a problem before. It's not a
It's
problem.
'cause they haven't
you
been
know what?
healthy.
'Cause
They haven't been that good.
Jokic doesn't care about scoring. He cares about getting his teammates. He always said, if I score, it only makes one person happy, me. But if I make a pass, I get two people happy. I'm happy, and the person I pass to that scored is happy. So he could care less about scoring. He's the most unselfish player in the NBA because all he cares about is winning and making his teammates happy. And if him having to score, and he can score, he'll do it. But I mean, yeah.
Not to mention, you have Chris Middleton off.
I do.
No.
I just don't think he's a top
disagree
10
with that.
small forward anymore.
You have Scotty Barnes and Franz Wagner over him.
I do.
And Mikhail's not on there either.
Nope. I don't. I think the Suns are going to implode. I mean,
agree
I still
that
think
they will
they'll be
be
good, but
disappointing.
I think that, they're going to have issues.
Okay.
Issues.
I think you have issues for not having Wiggins on the list.
I think.
But
I don't. I have Wiggins off the list, and my issues are. You're right. They're with. I don't think he's as good as people make him out to be. I mean, he was an all-star last year. That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. He was not an all-star.
Thank you for being here. That's all we have time for today's show. If you have comments or suggestions for our show, email us at learn.tv@lcsd.k12.sc.us. You can watch our content on YouTube, search Learn TV Lancaster. Thank you for watching this episode of Learn TV's NBA Take, and we hope you join us next time.